when I studied applied computer science, I wanted to contribute to the shift and get away from technology-driven innovation more to the direction of human-driven innovation. And by that time, it was a completely new field to study human-computer interaction. And I really, really fell in love with it. And I worked afterwards for 10 years in academia on industrial research projects, doing their user and now what we call UX research. So I was really there in the change I could see from what design meant in earlier days, being a problem solver, shifting to what we see design now being more as a creator of meaningful experiences. But what was always hard for me was really to help the industry to change their approaches, processes on how they develop digital products. And I really felt that kind of coming here from academia, I couldn't really pursue with my passion and my vision. So 3 years ago, I founded my own company and started to working as a freelancer, and I was working with several European SMEs on redesigning and designing digital products and bringing them to the market. And I could really see how I could change their view on how products should be developed or could be developed. It got me curious to find out how we could label it. And as I was coming from academia, I did some research and I came across the topic, which was the experience design culture. And actually it's out there for quite a long time, but there were not so it was not so really kind of taken up the last years in the community. So I decided, well, let's take today's opportunity of the UX Bootcamp and maybe to share it with some more people. So I think a lot of you might have heard the term design culture, which was kind of really pushed forward due to the design thinking hype that we had a few years ago. And next to that, there was always still this experience design culture. And today I would like to introduce you to this and what I mean by this, or at least how I understand it. And for me, an experience design culture provides people an environment where they can passionately engage themselves to create meaningful experiences with digital products, but also with the services around it and the brand. So it's more than just what we UX designers do in UX design, but it's really like bringing everyone in the company together, being passionate about creating meaningful experiences. And I was really glad that a few months ago, I could join an interview with Bobby Neff, the vice president of UX at Google. And I found it amazing when he kind of said that he had been working for 12 years at Amazon and now for almost 10 years at Google. And kind of everyone was wondering, like, why? So he got asked that question. And basically what he was responding was, it is the culture that the company lives and the goals. And in terms of culture, he was really saying that both of the companies, they had a very collaborative culture. People were supporting each other, were really liking it to work together, and kind of were really loving the work that they were doing. And the second thing was that both of the companies were really trying to solve real world problems and are not focused on making money. So what was quite interesting, we had then some discussion on like how we UX designers, if we come to a company, be passionate, bring people together, we love our jobs, we are very passionate and energetic and really want to change things. And this works out the first time, but when the company sees, oh, we can make money, they sometimes bring in then other people that should make more money out of it. And then kind of the spirit and everything that was kind of built up in terms of a little bit of a culture going in the direction of an experience, this culture breaks apart again. So for me, it's the experience culture is really about understanding that we need to go beyond what users want and what we can build for them, more in the direction of how do they want to interact with it, but truly uncovering why they want it. And I know there is another great session happening at the UX Barcamp, which is about, should we ask the users why? And I definitely also say, like she says, no. We need to uncover the why. So this is really like the research part that we need to do in the beginning to find out, okay, why are people engaging, or why are they not engaging? What are really their needs? And that needs to happen like on different levels. So for me, the experience design culture describes a work environment rooted in experience design. And by experience design, I mean that we are focusing on these meaningful experiences, not only on the product or even on the digital interface part where we UX designers are mainly working on, but also understanding that the services around and the brand all together form these meaningful experiences. And we need to combine brand experience with customer experience and user experience. And this is kind of why I had the subtitle, kind of the interplay between these three areas. So for me, it's really like coming from the UX part, I got to understand that we can build great products, but if we are not designing the services around accordingly and are doing this together with the other departments, yeah, we might have a great product that might not really come to the customer in the end, or we build a product that is not in line with kind of what the company the identity is. So what the brand experience is about, so what the brand stands for. So if this is conflicting, then we can have built great products from a user experience perspective, but they still might not be successful in the end. But it can also be the other way around. If we have really a strong brand experience, people are way more forgivingness if we maybe have screwed up some parts in the user experience. So these three terminologies, they are really strongly I missed the English word, relating to each other and influencing each others. So maybe we start off with brand experience. I myself kind of see brand experience like how people feel about the brand, even before they have maybe become a customer or user. So let's give you an example. So maybe you haven't had yet any Apple products, but you know Apple, it's a great brand. They have an identity built up. So it's what the company stands for and what the customer recognizes. They have positioned themselves in kind of what products they bring and why they are unique in comparison to their competitors. They have come up with a promise that they give you, and yeah, you want to kind of, once you have an Apple product, you know the promise and you know that they will keep it up, the quality and everything. So it's about the message that they communicate, the brand promise to us. And I really like also the brand experience is related to the voice. And I always, when I read this, the first thing that comes to my mind is George Clooney and Nespresso. He was the voice for that brand, and Nespresso is really having a hard time finding another voice that kind of brings the identity, the promise, and the message that the brand stands for so well to the users. So you see all these experiences, they make us really, really excited. This is like happening on a brand level, but it's influencing the customer and the user experience. Coming to the customer experience, this is more related like to all the services and the touch points that people have with the brand. They need to be designed like from the very first one when I enter a store or when I read an advertisement till I need support when I have started using my product. So kind of here the interplay between user experience and customer experience, this has been understood that it is really important. So for me, customer experience addresses all the interactions with the company. Yeah, so also giving you some attributes and important aspects. So one is like thinking of how to attract the customers. So if we have kind of defined the brand experience, we now think, okay, how can we inform customers about our products? What are the best ways to bring our brand message and the products we have to our potential clients? It's about, yeah, will the users really accept the company? Will they accept the products? And this is really important. And people kind of coming more from the academia know that user experience and then there is user acceptance. So once the user kind of starts accepting the products, the technologies, the company, they are more willing to invest money and buy other products. So we need to, customer experience design needs to think of, okay, how can we bring people to kind of accept our products and organizations and values that the company is standing for. The third thing is amplify, and this is kind of thinking about the feeling that the client should have when they are in touch with the company. And I think this is a part where a lot of companies are currently screwing it up, like with all their support services, which are really bad. And kind of when people come and need help, they are kind of call center, and the person at the call center does not have the proper language, and it's very hard to explain your problem to that person. So in the end, you always need to think that all these experiences, they go together and they build up like how we feel about the product, and the brand and everything. So kind of amplifying means that we need to think, okay, what is the end experience that we want our users to have at the very end of the user journey? And this is like a part a lot of companies tend to forget recently. The next thing is really adopting. How can we bring people to adopt to our products and to the brand? Meaning that our products really become part of the people's life, and that they like to use it, and that they will come back and buy other products. And the last thing is advancing. So how do we, what is the ultimate that should follow up? So if we have a product out there, how can we advance the experience? Is it with other releases? Is it with new products? So we always also should thinking about advancing the experiences that we have created, and not kind of setting up once the user journey and that's it, but always thinking also how to continue the communication. And coming really like to the core part where we and everyone kind of attending this conference is situated, it's about the user experience. And that's for me really the experiences with the product. I know there are a lot of different definitions out there, and I'm also a big fan of Don Norman, who in the beginning did not separate between user experience, brand experience, and customer experience. He kind of said it's all the experiences you have with the product, with the services, and the company. But it was like kind of the field that it was evolving, and the different disciplines that were kind of driving these different terminologies. And we now do have them. And I think what is really important is that we understand kind of what they are standing for, and yeah, how we can best collaborate and make good things out of it. So in terms of user experience, I really love the 7 attributes from Peter Morville kind of describing UX. And I think that is really important to me is accessibility. And I know that it's getting better now, but we as UX designers, we really need to take care of this part, because a lot of companies are not paying attention to it. So making products really accessible to people, also, of course, usable. So accessibility and usability are kind of the preconditions for me to have a good user experience. But also findability, so that people find the products, find the informations and features, everything they are looking for. This is kind of our work, that we build up information architectures, that we design flows that people can really reach their goals and perform their actions in the most natural way. The next thing is, of course, the usefulness. So a lot of times when I work with my clients, they kind of tell me if I could do that. And I'm like, yes. But for me, it's always the question, is it really useful? So I really dive into coming back to the not only what and how, but also to the why, really understanding if the features and the flows and the product we are delivering to the users is really providing them something useful, that they can really use it and that it really fulfills their needs. So this is really a crucial aspect. And I kind of know that a lot of us UX designers are struggling with this part. And what I really find great what I'm currently observing is, like in the US, we are seeing that the UX designer position is splitting up into really UX researchers and UX designers, and that kind of companies are understanding, in order to find out this why and this useful part, we need dedicated people having background more on the methodology perspective, being able to run all these user research studies that are actually needed to build useful products. The next thing is credibility. So yeah, it's about, if we kind of screw up the trust that people had in the product, we're gonna have a hard time to build it up again. So we really need to carefully design and guide the users, and are kind of keeping them in control and not working against them, so that they credit the company, that they credit the products, and that they build up trust in them. Yeah, and all these things together, hopefully they kind of in the end result in that you're building valuable products. And I have been investigating on the topic also quite a while when I was still in academia, what values are out there. And it's kind of from basic needs till value can be on a lot of different levels. So again, this is something we as UX designers should really consider in the beginning. What is the value that the user should get out of using the product we are currently designing the flows and the visuals for? And hopefully also not forgetting about the desirability. So if we really do it well, and if we really do it well together with the customer services and the brand, then people want our products. They really want to interact with it. The products get desirable. But it's very hard to only make that on a product level. So again, to kind of make a product desirable, we need to understand what is the ecosystem around the product, as Bill Buxton said it in an interview. For each product, there needs to be an ecosystem of services, and that the product can really live out there and can really expand the full potential. And it's also the brand that is here really important. What is the brand communicating? Because it's like most of the time brands have several products. Do these things go together? Yeah. So I think you understood that also from us as UX designers, it's really important to collaborate with other departments to really get the best out of our work in terms of creating great products with great experiences. So I do have here a summary of successful things that I kind of came up with that help establishing an experience design culture. So one thing is, if this is something that you think your company needs, you should be aware of that this is kind of a top level decision. But every stakeholder in the company kind of needs to be involved. So I have seen this in some companies where they had a CEO which was really proactive on user experience and saying this is important, and they hired a team, but all in a sudden that CEO was gone and another one was coming, and that didn't kind of recognize or see kind of why experience design is so important. And it kind of, yeah, it screwed up everything. It ruined it. It took a long time again to get people collaborating. So it's really a top level decision. So you need the top level management being supporting it. Otherwise, you as a UX designer, or we as UX designers, yeah, we will really have a hard time kind of changing the culture or coming to a point where we say, okay, this is really a culture that I can live my full potential, and I love to work here, and I love what I can do here. The second thing is that, yeah, the stakeholders need to support also the company's main goals to satisfy the user and customers and create great experiences. So I have seen companies where there are some teams which are kind of really in line with what I would call experience design culture, but it's not across the whole company. So we need to bring really all the stakeholders at one table, and we need to say, okay, how can market research collaborate with user experience research? How can we get the best out of here? So we need to make all these connections also within the company, yeah, to really successfully establish such a culture. Yeah, it's sorry. Yeah, it's about establishing relationships and interaction, and it's really about the attitude. So curiosity and kind of being curious to collaborate with other stakeholders, work together. I think this is so important. If you are kind of a UX designer that just wants to work on their own things and kind of, yeah, someone else should tell me what to do, this is absolutely fine, but it was not fulfilling me. So I'm kind of seeking for these more higher goals. And yeah, as I said, multidisciplinary collaborative teams is kind of where we are aiming for, learning from each other, supporting each other. And IDEO did put some good behaviors for design-driven companies, for design culture. And I think they also fit very well if we're speaking about an experience design culture. And the first one was collaboration. So I think we elaborated on that enough, but also the part of curiosity, kind of making each other curious to investigate the why and not solely the what and how, but also kind of doing these ideation processes together, kind of bringing everyone at a table, doing brainstorming, ideation sessions, a bit like what we are seeing with what design thinking is kind of aiming for. And I really like the part of the storytelling, and my co-moderator today, I'm always passionate if she tells stories. I'm like listening to every word she's saying. So find someone in your company that picks up those ideas and let them live and spread in the company, and get people passionate about the ideas you have so that they can grow, and yeah, you can continue iteration and elaborating on that. And that brings me to the last part of experimentation. So experiment, try things out, prototype, and what is important here, learn as quickly as possible and fail as often as possible. And that brings me almost to the end of my talk today. Kind of some mistakes I see that kind of would hinder such an experience design culture. Of course, not knowing who the users or customers are. So a lot of companies still say, we know exactly how our users are, we don't need user research. But when you look at the data or whatever they believe that the insights they have about their users, we see, no, this is really not enough to design good products, to design great experiences for the customers. Yeah, relying too much on behavior data, but not empathizing with it. So this is also something I see, like analytics, analytics, analytics. Oh, we have so much analytics and we can see what people are doing, but again, we are missing the why. So it's not enough to see what people are doing, but we need to understand why they are doing certain things or why they are not doing other things to really improve the experience. Yeah, limiting design to aesthetics. This is also what I hear a lot of times. Oh, UX designers, you should make it pretty. But again, it's not about making it pretty. It's about designing the experiences the users should have, and that should be carefully like on the whole user journey and not just on the product level. Yeah, and coming almost to the end, this is, I think, still where we in Europe have a big problem, struggling with the tolerance of failure. So it's like in some countries, and I'm speaking also about my own country in Austria, it's like, no, we don't ever make mistakes. We don't fail. And I think this is so bad because we need to try out things. We need to fail. We need to learn to improve ourselves. So I think this is also really crucial. Yeah. And the last thing, being reactive and not proactive. So I see a lot of companies that they start to get active once they have a problem or once they see, oh, product is not selling so well, seems to be something wrong with the experience or whatever. But in reality, you should be more proactive. So you should be really thinking, okay, now we have made that great. What can we do as the next release? What can be the next features? How can we improve the experience on all the different levels? So yeah, that brings me to my conclusion. Yeah, summing up, I think it's necessary that we really start actively designing for experiences. And by that, I mean really we, the UX designers, the UX experiences, but together with the customer service departments, all the customer experiences, also with marketing together, the brand experience, so that really everything goes together. And in terms of setting up such an experience design culture, we should not forget about the employee experience. And I kind of see that like in the real companies that are living such an experience design culture, they care about their employees and how they experience work, if they love to work there, if they feel passionate, if it feels for them like a burden to stay an hour more in the office, or if they really appreciate it because they are currently in such a creative process and it's just great to work there. So I think there is still a lot to do. I hope there were some interesting new insights for you, and I'm happy to kind of try to answer the questions you have or things that were not clear.
May I ask a question?
Yes, sure. And then Matthias.
Oh, great. Sorry,
ahead,
I didn't notice there was a queue. Yeah, sure. So you mentioned about this not afraid to fail. And I noticed in my company, it does seem like before you start, you should be already 100% sure what success you bring. So what do you think can be done in this? How can we help company realize that fail is all right, it can happen?
Yeah, I think the point is still that a lot of companies are failing too late in the development process. So they are kind of starting already implementing and building things and then not kind of discovering that something went wrong and that they failed. So I think it's really about like taking up on that prototyping things and like running little user studies as early as possible to see if what you have come up is really working out. And if not, kind of say, okay, we failed, we learned something out of it. This is like something we shouldn't do again, like having these do's and don'ts, like we are putting together in the design system currently, really learning from these things.
Matthias, you're up now.
Yep.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. Yeah, my question is like, how can we really establish an experience-based culture if we don't have the support of the top-level management? As you mentioned earlier, I think this is a big problem.
It is.
Because from my experience, it's like the top-level management is always willing to write like customer-first claims on the wall, but I'm currently struggling with exactly this situation. There's no really buy-in from the top level management. And so what would be your tips and tricks to establish a user experience or experience design-based culture if we don't have the top level management support?
Yeah, so I think what I always recommend in that situations is kind of, start collaborating, kind of build up small teams and try things out, and then kind of show the top management, okay, here we did try a different approach, see how successful we are. If they kind of see actual outcomes and see, okay, if we do things differently, they are even performing better. So that brings us to the point of UX KPIs, which are really kind of becoming more and more important, because for the top management level, we kind of need to show them that maybe the conversion rate improved or whatever. They need some hard facts. And if they see it, then they are kind of, okay, yeah, maybe we should start kind of changing how we approach things. So I miss the English word, but it's kind of find Verbündete in the company, that you say, okay, we are like a core team, we want to try this out, maybe invest some more time in it, but really give it a try and see how it could change the outcome of what we are creating. And I think as soon as the top management really sees how it's improving, I think they will give it to you. But the problem is that they are not familiar with the processes of UX design. For all these top managers, it's like they don't know actually what we're doing. It's like magic for them. So I know that the Nielsen Norman Group is doing now a lot of training, especially focusing on that management level. And there is even a new position in the US, which we see a lot of times, which is the UX strategist. I wasn't even aware that there was this position, but when I was speaking to a lot of people in the US, they kind of told me, yes, we have exactly people that are kind of setting up these strategies, bringing everything needed to set up such an experience design culture. So at the moment, this is like kind of the only advice I can give you, but I have hope that it will change within the next years when we see all those new positions also kind of popping up in Europe.